Hey everybody, Eddy Gee here, and for Black History Month, I decided I wanted to share with our NASCA Network viewers my conversations with some friends about their experiences, because we are all contributors to history every day, especially Black history. Today I have a good friend and visionary, Eugene Cliett, who is the CEO and president of the Philadelphia Television Network. Hey Gene.
Hey, how are you, Eddie?
Good to see you today. Good to have you on the program. We'll get right into it.
Okay.
We have a lot of things going on, Black History Month and all those things. And we really want to know, being a Black television station owner, what was the pathway? How did you get from here to there? Was it a straight line or was it a curve?
Oh, it was many curves, many stops along the way. By profession, I'm a financial person. I'm a CPA. As a matter of fact, I'm a controller for the city of Philadelphia, as well as many other senior positions that I held in city government in Philadelphia. And in 1979, I was sworn in as the first Black city controller for the city of Philadelphia. And unfortunately, there hasn't been any since 1979. And what makes it even more historic is that I was sworn in by the first and only Black Chief Justice of the Supreme Court here in Pennsylvania. So that's something of a straying off the beaten path of being in finance and then heading into broadcasting. And I got into broadcasting because I just found it to be so intriguing. It stayed ahead of the curve, and it was always a staple. You know, everybody likes TV. Everybody likes over-the-air TV. And I got involved in TV, say, in the late 90s, when we acquired a low-power TV station in Philadelphia, Channel 7. The most difficult thing about getting into broadcasting, of course, is finding a property, because there's not that many properties available, as well as finding financing to finance the operation. But we were fortunate enough to find a low-power station in Philadelphia. We brought in a news format programming, and we wanted to do local news, local entertainment, local religion, something to address the community's needs here in Philadelphia. And it's a decision that I will never regret, because again, it allowed me to fulfill a desire to do something in the community, as well as it being high tech.
It was a trailblazing time because it was at the beginning of the internet era. It was in 1999 going into 2000. And at that time, there was a really big deal about being a Black-owned station. What were some of the hurdles that you wouldn't have had to go through if you weren't an African American?
Well, clearly the advertisers, it's always been said that advertisers are afraid of the dark. And Madison Avenue is afraid of the dark. I think that's really the saying. Madison Avenue is afraid of the dark, and Madison Avenue is where your advertisers come from. And that was probably one of the major hurdles, as well as just Philadelphia isn't the most progressive city. It's become much more progressive over the last, say, 20, 25 years. But when we launched a 24-hour cable type, news format, we were made fun of by, other stations and by some of the print media. They laughed and said that, we were repeating the same news over and over. Well, seems like we were way ahead of the curve, because that's what's, basically done today. But, when it comes to the drawbacks and difficulties advertising will always be your biggest biggest stumbling block. Acquisition of employees. Um, Not all would want to work for a minority station or black-owned station with programming that was basically geared towards African Americans. That was then. That was 20 years ago. Today it's different. We were fortunate enough that we were able to acquire individuals like yourself. You were instrumental in getting our entire network up and running. As a matter of fact, the first online 24-hour news broadcast over the internet came through your efforts and others, Eric Smith and others that worked in that department. But the acquisition of good employees was difficult, but we were fortunate that we found some sharp African American employees who were just as excited about being ahead of the curve as we were. And having the first Center City ground floor location studio made it very, very exciting for what we were doing in Philadelphia.
It was an exciting time, and it was an opportunity for many of us who this was their first opportunity to work in television. And it was a learning experience. A lot of what I do now is based on what I learned then. And, we mentored the other young guys coming along, Eric Smith and myself. And as a trailblazer, as you were, and for us to be able to create that stream that no one else had done, working with Mark Cuban with broadcast.com.
That's
at
right.
the time. He wasn't the Shark Tank guy at the time, but he still was a progressively thinking person to even get involved in something like that. But that is how he became rich. Am I right?
Indeed. We were probably one of his initial customers for his broadcast.com service. And when I see him on TV today, while I've never met him in person, I've talked to him a number of times on the telephone because he was so concerned about whether or not we were satisfied with that product. And certainly we were satisfied, and we were the only ones in Philadelphia that had it, and probably one of the few in the nation that was doing that initially. But again, it was trailblazing. It was really cutting edge, and we couldn't have made it work without dedicated individuals like you, Eric, and others that we had there. But we were pretty sharp. I got to give you guys credit. You're pretty sharp.
Hey, we were ahead of the curve, like you said. I mean, if you look at it now, the basis for all streaming media is the internet and television.
The internet.
And it's amazing to think that we were on the forefront of that, because dial-up was the key at the time. There was no high-speed internet, right? So for us to even attempt that and for it to work, not just attempt it, but it worked. I mean, you could get on there. You had a couple hiccups, but after you heard that noise, you could get on the website that we put together and you could watch Philly TV anywhere in the world, which was fabulous. Now, 22 years later, here we are, and television has changed a lot. Well, let me back up. Let me ask you the role that television played in the African American community. How was it important compared to now?
African Americans are some of the largest consumers of TV, and but they never had that many choices. Wasn't that many choices as far as programming goes. However, today there's multiple, networks that are out there, multiple choices, and the programming. There's just a myriad of programming that's available geared towards African Americans. When we started out, we were analog, and by I guess 2010. The FCC required everyone to go to digital. And so we were going and moved into the digital world, which allowed us to have multiple channels. So it wasn't just channel 7 anymore, it was channel 7.1 dot 1 or channel 7 dot 2, channel 7.3, right on down the line. Today we have the capability of having as many as, say, 8 to 10 channels with good video and audio. We're headed towards that feat of getting multiple channels, not only to do audio and video, but just audio channels. And we're even thinking about podcasts. This is something, a discussion that you and I had several weeks ago or several months ago, of even broadcasting the podcast. And all of this can be done over the air, as well as being picked up on your telephones through the internet. But because, as you said, the internet is really the basis for all broadcast activity today. And it was something that we launched onto early, and we intend to continue on in that vein.
Well, Gene, being that it's Black History Month, and I really want to focus on a 365 approach. We celebrate Black History Month because it's there pretty much, but every day we're Black. So we celebrate it every day, right? So anytime I get up in the morning, I look at how I can help somebody else, how I can mentor somebody. Our journey was what it was, but there's others following in our footsteps, and they're looking for advice. They're looking for mentorship. What advice would you have to people who are interested in getting involved in television?
Well, number one, it's not an easy endeavor. It's something that's going to be challenging. It's, I guess if it was that easy, it'd be a lot of people jumping in. Unfortunately, you do have a lot of people jumping in, but they fall out also. You really have to have some planning. Planning, whether it be programming, or of course, programming is number one, but also financial. You have to really plan with how are you going to finance this, recognizing that there's a lot of competition out there, and Madison Avenue is still afraid of the dark in many respects. And understand your customer base. Who are you going to really try to satisfy their viewing needs, and putting together a strategic plan that addresses programming, finances, as well as who are your core customers and how do you serve them best. That would be my advice to anyone looking to get into TV, and to be able to come up with relationships with individuals who are talented and who are interested in who have a fervent desire and belief in what you're doing. The African American community has so many opportunities being put forward today for exciting programming concepts and ideas. The cable networks, they have multiple channels that these programs can be distributed across. And it's something that, you have to look at every aspect of how to gain that competitive edge, how to get that competitive advantage, and having something unique, something that you don't see with the cookie cutting type programming, will allow you to be successful in this business.
Well, that's great advice, Gene. I want to thank you for the opportunity. As I said, a lot of my foundation, the reason I'm doing this right now is because of the opportunity at Philly TV that blossomed on and continued to doing the NASCA network. So I appreciate the opportunity you gave me, Eric, and the other guys. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to help others as well. So thank you for being on, Gene. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate being a part of history, not just Black history, but we created history on the internet with the streaming. So I really appreciate that as well. So thanks for coming on.
Well, it's been a exciting time, and I think we need to memorialize something that we did back then, and to remind the world that Philadelphia, Philly TV, was one of the first to have that streaming concept with the 24-hour news and entertainment type format. So if you'll give me some of your time in the next couple of months, let's memorialize that and put something up on your website.
Hey,
because
that sounds good.
you deserve as much of the credit as anyone. And again, thank you for having me, and looking forward to continuing our relationship in the future. Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, Gene. I want to thank you all for watching. Follow us on all social media platforms under NASCA Network. Like and subscribe. See you next time.